and welcome to Just a Little Bit. And you know, it's a fun thing to be able to every week come to you and share a little bit of information with you and have a good time and laugh a little bit. What you can't see is the audience in the back. And believe you me, it's a bunch of characters back there, but I really enjoy this. So for this week's episode of Just a Little Bit, we're going to talk just a little bit about something that's special. And if you haven't heard, if you don't know, now you know. Joe Biden has chosen Kamala Harris for his vice presidential running mate. And they will appear for the first time on tomorrow evening. So congratulations, Joe and Kamala. Congratulations. And then on a sad note, we have a 11-year-old girl missing out of Miami, Florida. More of this article appears in this week's West Side Gazette. And I don't want to say as usual, but man, this COVID-19 is wreaking havoc. Just when you think numbers are plateauing out, they're still spiking in certain areas. And one of the areas that has bothered me the most is in the Department of Corrections. The state of Florida has some of the highest rates of the COVID pandemic and some of the highest rates of death. One of the brothers who writes in our paper on a weekly basis has just tested positive, and you can read his article in this week's paper. It's heart-wrenching, and it's something that we need to address from the outside to make all the phone calls necessary to put pressure on those who are in charge of our penal institutions. Even though the Secretary of the Department of Corrections, he himself tested positive along with his deputy when they visited one of the highest institutions of inmates with the pandemic. There were noted at that particular time over 1,300 inmates and over 100 correctional officers who tested positive. And the first death of a correction officer and his wife was reported this week. So this thing is getting out of hand. Sure, Broward County is beginning to, like I said, level out, but there are places all over the country where it's still out of control. So brothers and sisters, please cover your mouths. Now you may think that your mask, the one you're wearing, is the one that works the best, but I got news for you. There was a report done that says these type of masks that you put over your head and your neck and around your mouth, these are the worst kind. Throw them away. Then there are those that we make. Yeah, they come in a close third or fourth. They'll suffice in certain areas. But in a tight situation, use them. If not, put them on the shelf. And then there are the 3-tier, 3-ply, or whatever level. These are the second best rated. Now the number one rated ones, not even the ones that have the ventilating system, they're not rated the best for obvious reason. If you got a ventilation, then you got some opening that if you sneeze or whatever, it can come out and still infiltrate the area. The best masks to use are these, the one that covers your nose and your mouth. So these are the best. Welcome back to Just a Little Bit. 40 on the 40. 40 seconds on the history, faith, strength, and endurance of black people. Walter Moses Burton, first black elected sheriff, born in slavery in North Carolina on August the 8th, 1840. He was 10 when he was enslaved in Texas. At the age of 21, Walter was taught how to read and write by his owner. In 1869, he was the first African-American elected to public office as a sheriff and a tax collector. Again, it's our pleasure on Just a Little Bit to be able to go back and reach back and bring some history up. So in this segment, in our Sankofa moment, Sankofa, the Twa language in Ghana, it means to go back and get it. So right now we're going to go back in time and get it and welcome to the stage or to the table one of our esteemed historians and friend, Mr. David E. Dill Jr. Come on through up, Mr. David. Welcome, Mr. Dill. What's happening, man?
All right, Bobby. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a great honor and a privilege to be here.
Well, very good. I want folk to know that we are practicing social distancing. We do have our mask, so that's that now. So, Dave.
Yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit about who you are, man, and some of your areas of interest.
Yes. Well, I was born and raised here. Proud to be a Fort Lauderdale, if that's a word, and everything. And I grew up just like a regular child. Grew up, went to Dillard Elementary, and we was very keen on activities. Always loved activities. My father being a science teacher, and my mom working out to the park, Sunland Park, it allowed me to play every day. So I have that background in reaching out, making friends, sharing and everything. And that's what mostly I remember about mom and dad. You share, you give, and have fun.
Oh yeah, I can remember some sharing and partaking in a lot of the food at the Dill's house.
Yeah.
That Bahamian influence.
That's right.
So I remember a lot of that. Now, Dave, your legacy in your life has centered around athletics,
yes.
And was some other proud moments. Give us a little history on your athletic proudness.
Yes, well, thank you. Well, I graduated from Boyd Anderson High School. At that time, Boyd Anderson was built in 1973. That's the first class. Come to find out there was a state mandate. So all the cities, West Palm Beach, they built Riviera and throughout the state of Florida. But in 9th grade, we was at Dillard High School, and man, we had the best team, in my opinion, in the state. So when Boyd Anderson was built in 1973, they split us up. We had students living right in the backyard of Dillard High School, but they had to go to Boyd Anderson. So when they split us up, I think the best athletes went to Boyd Anderson. That was me and everything like that. So I played quarterback in high school. Got a scholarship to play at Florida A&M quarterback. But I guess I wasn't quite ready right then. You going to college and having fun and things of that nature. But I always loved sports, always baseball. My father was a baseball coach. If I could do it again, I would have stuck with baseball. But Bobby, I love all sports.
But I can remember baseball at Sunland Park.
That's right.
I think you was a catcher.
Yes.
And I remember a fast pitch, kind of like
got away from it.
Yeah. So, but Dave,
He got away.
I can remember some of those things, man, and some of those moments.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What is that you have there?
Well, right here I brought an old program manual of the David Dill Play Day. This was the 37th annual Play Day. Due to the COVID, the program was canceled this year. So this summer would have been the 67th annual David Dill Play Day.
What is the David Dill Play Day?
That's a good question, Bobby. Glad you asked. But let me start it. My father passed in 1970. So the name was Play Day at first, but when he died, Joseph Carter, he changed the name to David Dill Play Day. And that's been going on since 1970. And that's when the Tri-County area, Palm Beach, Broward, and Dade County, they'll get together and just have fun. Athletic events, concerts, good eating, and that's what the day was designed for. Just a big community day to have fun.
Okay, now David, now your daddy has some history.
Yes.
Give us a little bit on Mr. Dill.
Well, that's good. Like I said, he was a science teacher. He was one of the few Negro League baseball players. You might hear names like Frank Scruggs and David Dill. I have pictures of them playing Negro Leagues. He had a baby brother they called Robert Peachhead Mitchell. Peachhead went on. Peachhead played for the Homestead Braves, and so he actually made it, Peachhead. So my father, born in West Palm Beach, his roots is Bahamian. And he met my mom. She's born in Macon, Georgia. They met in West Palm Beach. And that union, they married until his demise, until he died. So that's what it was. He loved the community. He loved to teach them athletics and just get together. He was a high school baseball coach at Diller. And back then, you coached every sport, but his main focus, Bobby, was baseball.
Okay. Now, behind every great man, there's a greater woman. Now, your mother has some history in Parks and Rec, too.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And I was looking earlier at this man, you hear the 37th annual. This is 1990, and they have a picture of my mom. She was still grinding the axe, still working back then. And for this day, 1990, her and names like Ada Moore.
Ada Moore.
Yeah, and people like that. So she was a long timer. I think she worked for 40 years in the Parks and Recreation Department. She used to collect money from the pools. That's how she started out. You know, back then in the Sunland pool.
Basket, you gotta get your basket.
So you going back.
Yeah.
You had to pay, I think, a nickel for that basket and everything. But she used to collect the money. And that's how she got her start.
Okay. And Dave, your legend in Parks and Rec extend a long ways too. Where did you start at in Parks and Rec?
Very good. I started out in part-time. Then I became full-time. I'm what you call a leisure professional, you know, certified Parks and Recreation director. I managed all the parks in the area, from Lauderdale Manors to Bass Park to Joe Carter Park. So I love recreation too. I even had some extensive programming in activities and things of that nature, events. So the umbrella Parks and Recreation, Bobby, I was in it.
I know you were.
I've seen a lot of changes, a lot of things come and go.
If I'm not mistaken, I think you opened up Bass Park, if I'm not mistaken. And some of those names out there, like Robert Payne.
Yes. Good man. Yeah. Matt Sanders, you know, things of that nature. And they say it's not good to name names because you're going to forget someone, but it's a lot of names. John Wilson and Moses Beasley, and all those was pioneers back in the days. So we learned from them, and I'm glad to see that the staff, the youth of the day, Bobby, is learning from us. But Bass Park, you and I, we were lifeguards at Bass Park, the old Bass Park, and it seemed like we could never get that water blue. You remember? It was clean. It was chlorine and all that, but we had no problem getting that blue water. But man, we was really in it, you know, teaching the kids how to swim. And then they would progress to the swim team. And when play day come around, we'll have a big swim meet, you know, park on park on park. Miami used to bring a team. So it was a good time then. Good, creative, and good fun back then.
What's missing today, David, and that you think could make Parks and Rec a little better?
Well, first of all, let's stick with this day for right now. My sister and I, we really appreciate for the city from letting this event go on for so long. Like this, like I said earlier, this is the oldest event. And things change and everything. Things change. Like when we was coming up, things are different now than what it is today. When we was in high school, we weren't allowed to slam dunk a basketball, but now they can slam dunk. So that's the same with the staff today, and I like these young people. They are trying their best to interface with the staff and all. All I can do is just keep giving them advice on what to do. Bobby, one of the things missing today is everyone is going to the technological advancements now. When I was coming up, we did things hands-on.
Jackstone.
Yes, I mean just hands-on,
tennis.
you know, with the kids. We'll go out to the playgrounds with them. We'll pitch the balls now. But now they're doing a little more things on the inside of the buildings now. But like I say, the staff, I want to congratulate them for continue to try to keep this day going on.
Hey, that David Dill play day, I have some fond memories. I can remember Honey Bun in a boxing match.
Got knocked down.
Yeah, he was trying to bite the gloves off his hand. But that type of activities, the closeness, the camaraderie, the fact that you beat me in a race, I wouldn't go get a gun and come back and shoot you. It was just competitive competition.
That's right.
You know, and so I don't see that, now, so. Talk to that issue, man.
So that's one of the things now. You have to adjust to what's going on now in society. At one time, the gunfire did get pretty bad, and that put a damper on play day. We was used to having outside events and picnics and things, so that did put a damper on it. But look like things is slowly trying to come around now. For instance, some of the activities that they're doing now, and I really have to give the staff credit. They are doing a multitude of things now, from the slam dunk contest like we used to do, but they are keeping the youth involved now. As far as the outside activities with the DJs and things of that nature, we're still doing that. But the police department, law enforcement, look like they are coming up with showing a presence at these events. So in spite of the violence and things of that nature, look like the day is still trying to go on. If that answered your question.
Yeah, that's pretty much so. And I know you're still active. I think you're doing something. You're coaching golf now or something.
Yeah, right here. As a matter of fact, I'm with golf. I'm with one of the city programs called the Club 55. You have to be 55 years and older to join. And I'm the golf instructor. For what people don't know, we have a golf course at Oswald Park. So if you want to learn how to play a little golf, come and see me. And it's a fun thing. Get into it. Get up, get out. Speak up and have fun. I'll be glad to see you.
Okay. One last thing, Dave. You're still in pretty good shape, man, and I would think that I would contribute that to your life in leisure and parks and recreation.
Yes.
So what could you offer to those 65 and
like me, yes.
like us?
Well, I'll be 65 Friday, Medicare age and everything. But to eat right, we have a group where it's a lot of young men. We get together. Bobby is one of the people, and we talk about ways to improve your health, eating right and things of that nature. So I would suggest that you still, amidst of this, what's going on now, get out and exercise. Walk. You could find you some nice places to walk and exercise. I just got a bicycle, so I'm doing a little bike riding and things of that nature. Just don't let this pandemic just nail you down. Still get up and do you some exercise and things. Try to eat right. I'm still having problems with eating the right thing, but when I eat right, I can slowly feel my body trying to respond to that. So eat right and do some exercise.
Okay. Mr. David Edward Dill Jr., it's a pleasure, my brother.
Thank you,
Thank
Bobby
you.
Henry, for having me right on West Side Gazette. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, bro. Welcome back to Just a Little Bit. And this segment is What's Up? And we got a very interesting fella coming up to join us. So let's welcome to the platform Mr. Harold Pryor. So, Mr. Pryor, what's happening, man?
Not much. I'm just living. I'm in a race for what I say the soul and consciousness of Broward County.
Okay.
I'm running for state attorney in Broward County.
Okay. Now, we also talked a little bit about, I was going to ask you about Kapow.
Yeah.
Give me some on that Kapow. What's
I was president of TJ Reddick Bar Association. As you know, TJ Reddick Bar Association is the black bar association for Broward County. And I was honored to serve as president. And so a gentleman reached out to us with an organization that works with the Broward County School Board.
Okay.
That by the name of My Future Is Now. And so it's kind of based off of a comic book, Kapow. When you look at and it's really to kind of hit these kids upside the head with a different concept and curriculum. So rather than just have a lawyer or insurance agent or businessman or businesswoman come to your class and say, this is what I do, we work with the teachers and their actual curriculum, and we tie it into real life applications.
Okay, well now, what gives you the credibility to be able to talk about tying something into this mind of this kid? What gives you?
I was a knucklehead myself, and so I remember that's why I gravitated to this system. I gravitated to this program because I was one of those kids that you have ADD, ADHD. And you're always trying to find for creative ways or the school system to get it to apply to children like me or other kids who just might not like school. I didn't like school like that as a kid. And I gravitated to this because I saw that we would always be there. I know you was in that situation where I'm like, well, how does this apply to life, right? Like, why do I have to go to this class? How does calculus, I still haven't used calculus in my life, but how can this particular curriculum or course help me in my everyday life? And why I gravitated to this program is they would tie it into real life application, right? Something as simple as, math, right? And applying it to balancing a checkbook, right?
Okay.
Financial literacy, right? Something that wasn't taught to me when I was a kid. Growing up, my daddy would come every Friday with his check and he'd hand it to his mama. That was to my mama, excuse me. That was financial literacy for me, right? But I didn't know how to balance a budget and deal with my finances and things like that. And I know a lot of kids like that.
Now coming from Dade City?
Dade City,
so
Florida.
what kind of finances you had to manage in Dade City, Florida, man?
Well, we had bushels and haystacks, all that. No, man. But I grew up in a very rural area.
Okay.
I remember there was one summer.
Make me understand rule for those who might not.
Yeah. So I grew up in Dade City, Florida. It's a small town about 30 minutes north of Tampa, and it's a very rural area. Agriculture, oranges, watermelon, peas, you name it, everything. And I remember when I was 14, I was acting up. I was getting in trouble in school, getting into fights. And I remember we went to the summer. My dad said, "I got something for you." And so he dropped me off every morning at 7 o'clock in the morning. He dropped me off to a watermelon farm. He's like, "I'll pick you up." He said, "I'll see you at 6. And so I would pick water, and I'm the only black kid, 14, 15 years old. And all of them are immigrants. None of them speak English. All of them from Mexico, Honduras, other Central American countries.
So you believe in diversity? But
I believe in diversity, right? And it was an eye opener because I saw how these men and even women, there were women out there with their little kids. They're out here working in the watermelon farms and the orange groves, and they're stretching it, $20 a day, right?
Wow.
Living off that, right? And they've come over from their country. And so that had a profound effect on me. One, understanding that just you may think you have it worse. There's other people that got it worse than you. Yeah. And secondly, I'm gonna get my grades right. Okay. And I don't ever want to do this again, right? And so, I was able to turn around. I played football as a sectional athlete in high school, made good grades, went off to college, then I went to law school.
Okay, where did you go to college?
So I went to University of Florida, in Gainesville, Florida, go Gators. I went there, and then after leaving the University of Florida, I then went to Nova Law here in Fort Lauderdale, and finished there, and then I became a prosecutor, served as a prosecutor for 3 years, and then went into civil practice.
Okay. I want to back up a moment, man. Yeah. That watermelon field experience, what did that do to you, man?
Well,
Seriously, on a serious tip.
It made me stronger. It instilled in me the value of hard work and the value of a dollar. It actually was my first real life application of anything, understanding how other people live, right? As opposed to being a kid, you living under your parents' roof, we knew we had a roof over our head, we had clothes on our back, we had food, right? But actually seeing how other people lived and how they had to stretch a penny, right? And how they had to make all that make sense for them in their circumstance, it showed me that there was a world outside of the world that I was living in, and someone always has it worse. But they were okay. They had love in their families. They had enough to get a roof over their head or get a living situation. And it just taught me the importance of hard work. That was the main thing, the importance of hard work and not being afraid to work. You know, I always laugh. I am campaigning, and I always laugh. People will say, "Oh man, you must be tired. You must be dog tired." I was like, I've done much worse, and that's a situation. Or my dad, who worked two or three jobs to ensure that we had a roof over our head. This is least of what I could do, right?
That experience, did you befriend any of the ones working in the fields with you?
Yeah, so it's funny. One of the guys I probably would never talk to, we went to high school together. Like, he was another 16-year-old guy, and we're friends to this day. And he's actually a emergency, he's a paramedic, actually. He actually rose up. He's doing well. Has 2 kids now. He's doing fine. His family immigrated from Mexico. But yeah, it was quite the eye-opening experience because I got to see people that I probably wouldn't converse with or have a conversation with. And like I said, just had a profound effect on me to see that other people have it just as hard as we do, or even harder sometimes. So you have to count your blessings and just thank God for all the blessings and all the things that you do have. You know.
Yeah. I didn't want to. I didn't want to broach the political aspects of what you're doing. I wanted this to be an open conversation. I really did, but I can't help but that lends itself into what you do. You know, the fact that you spent time in the hot sun with some folk you didn't even know and develop a relationship that lasts to the day. Okay, so how do you transfer this into what you're doing right now?
Yeah, and I'll say this disclaimer. I know this podcast, this organization, you're not endorsing me. It's a conversation, but it can tell you what I do, and I'll tell you why I wanted to be a lawyer. Yeah. Right. And how all of this kind of affected me. I grew up in a rough neighborhood. I had uncles. I had an uncle that served time for manslaughter. I had cousins who had drug addiction issues, uncles who had drug addiction issues. And we saw a criminal justice system treat them less than because of a mental health issue, because of a drug addiction issue, because of the color of their skin or the zip code. And so we saw them placed into the criminal justice system, and we saw a criminal justice system treat them less than because of that. And so that's why I wanted to become an attorney. It wasn't because I watched TV and I said, okay, I see this as an attorney. I want to be a successful attorney. I want to make this money. I want a big house, big car. I saw how the criminal justice system was wreaking havoc on my family and on my family members, and I wanted to change it. I had family members brutally murdered. I had an uncle that was murdered in Atlanta, Georgia. The guy that killed him was up for the death penalty. I watched my grandmother, before her death, and my mother go up to Atlanta and tell the judge and plead with the prosecutor, we don't want death penalty for this guy, right? That had a profound effect on me. I had cousins that were brutally murdered. Just 2 years ago, I had a cousin of mine that was brutally murdered, and then at the beginning of this year at the trial, the murderer was found not guilty, right? So I've experienced the criminal justice system from all those vantage points of seeing how it can affect your family with the sentencing disparities between crack cocaine and powder cocaine, right? I had cousins who were caught with certain amounts of crack cocaine.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
And they served a state sentence, and then when they was done with their state sentence, the feds picked them up and served their fed sentence. But you would have white counterparts who were caught with the same amounts of powder cocaine, because it was seen as a drug of white folk or rich folk, and they would get little to no time, right? And so that's why I became an attorney. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I want to end those sentencing disparities. I want to not prosecute people for drug addiction issues or because of the color of their skin or because of mental health issues. I want to bring fairness and equality back into the system. And I didn't have to run for office. I didn't have to do anything because I was advocating for that, and I believed in that when I got into the profession. That was always my goal when I got into it.
All right. Now, we all have people that we want to emulate, role models, if you will. Who's some of your role models, and what are the reasons?
My dad, first and foremost, because he taught me lessons like that, and he's a man that led by example. My dad was a guy that worked hard. He kept his nose clean, and he just fought and did everything he could to provide for his family. And that's the thing that he imparted upon me, integrity and hard work, always trying to do the right thing. My mother and my grandfather and my grandmother, They both was involved in the civil rights movement in Central Florida. They advocated to give people their voting rights. They fought against the poll taxes. All the lessons that they've imparted upon me has been with me to this very day.
Okay. Well, Mr. Pryor, I really enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
I see another side of you, and it's cool. I can respect that.
I appreciate that.
So I wish the best for you. You know,
thank you.
I like the qualities that I see and the things that I've heard. So I wish you much success, my brother.
Thank you, and I respect you. I've always, when I first moved down to Fort Lauderdale, my first introduction to you, I was at an event and you stood up and I said, "Who the hell is this brother here?" Right, and so that's always stuck with me. You're outspoken advocate for our communities. Black journalism, which people think is a dying breed, it's not. It's still alive. We just have to support our own. I love where we are now as a culture, where we're starting to support each other. You see it with black media. People want to support black media. You see the resurgence of HBCUs. I hope more of our athletes, our top-notch athletes, start going to these schools.
Yes,
It'll change it. So, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, my brother.
Thank you.
Again, I want to thank all the guests who appeared on Just a Little Bit in this week's podcast. And I want to say thank you for the Destination Sistrunk place to be. The place in the hood is all good. And all of you politicians, remember, if you're serious about voting, then make sure the votes are being counted.